The U.S. Air Force is celebrating its 75th anniversary this year with, among other things, a tour of its musical ensembles, which are actually older than the Air Force itself. I'm Colleen Phelps, and I talked to First Lieutenant Hults about life in the Air Force Band. First Lieutenant Hults, welcome and welcome to Kentucky. It'll be great to have you in Louisville. And this is an anniversary year for the US Air Force. So, over 3/4 of a century, and actually longer for the bands, if I read correctly. How has music been part of that mission?
Well, thank you for having me here this morning. Actually, the Air Force bands have been around as long as the Air Force has existed, and then even before that, as you said, with the Army Air Corps bands. And we really existed first to simply we would travel around the country and raise money for war bonds um, during the World Wars, and so that's how we got our start. And really, sort of do the similar thing today with not simply raising money, but just simply connecting with our publics and our audiences, and uh, being a face, public face for the uniform, and humanizing the uniform in areas where maybe people don't have bases nearby, and where they get to see, and we can carry messaging for public affairs, and they get to see a uniform. There's less than 1% of the population now that is in the armed services, and so it's really important, I think, for us to connect and with audiences in the American public, and even our audiences abroad around the world.
I was telling a 12-year-old beginner trumpet player that I know about the service bands, and I'm going to pass along his question, which was, how do I get that job? So, outside of practice, how does one get a job in one of the service bands?
That's a fantastic question. So, in the Air Force bands, specifically, I'll speak to that. We do professional symphony level auditions. Most of the time, people send in recordings first. So that's sort of our first round, and we try to keep those blind. So the people will take those in. We'll send them to a committee. Then we invite a certain number of folks who pass that round, and then they'll come live for our regional bands. They'll go to any one of those locations around the country. For the premier band here in DC, which is the group that I work for currently, they'll fly to DC, and we have blind auditions where they have to play excerpts and some sight reading, and at some point we'll have them play with the ensembles, and we have a committee that chooses that person to join the group.
So, when not on tour, as a member of the Air Force Band at Bolling Air Force Base, what is a day in the life of a band member like?
Oh my goodness. So our day is wide and varied, and I don't think we have a normal day, to be quite honest. But among the things that we are responsible for, we do ceremonial performances. So you'll see our ceremonial brass at Arlington doing funerals for general officers and colonels, and we also have what's called protocol missions, and so that's might be where our Air Force strings or singing sergeants or even our rock band Max Impact, they'll go to the White House and do things for the president, or they'll go to the chief of staff's house and play for dinners. And then we have community relations gigs. So that's where we connect, as I was saying before, to our publics in America and also around the world.
And then when you're on tour, how is that experience? You mentioned a sizable crowd last night on the 4th of July.
Yes, I believe we had around 5 to 6,000 people here in Mount Vernon, Illinois, where I'm currently at right now. And then we're traveling to Owensboro, Kentucky, and we'll be at the River Park Center at 7 o'clock tonight. And then we'll be at Louisville Mell High School Auditorium tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And this tour is among sort of our 75th Air Force celebration, but also it's the 4th of July season. So we've simply got a wonderful set of Americana music for folks to enjoy, and also some music by folks from other countries. We've got a Spanish composer, Oscar Navarro, who has a piece called Downey Overture that celebrates his homeland, but also he lived in California. So it sort of mixes the two of having somebody come over here and having that experience of two different countries, and how music can maybe cross borders in that way. But then we've also got a Swiss composer, Oliver or Olivier, if you forgive me for not knowing how to pronounce his first name, Westby. But he wrote a piece called Divertimento for band, and the fourth movement is a hoedown. So think Aaron Copland's Rodeo, but turned on its head a bit, and with a much more contemporary flair, I would say, yeah, but just as fun.
So from the home of the chief of staff all the way to high schools across the country, what has been your favorite performing experience, the most
Oh,
exciting performing experience you've had in the band?
I've had a few. I'd say in general, I just simply love standing in front of our musicians. They are as they absolutely carry Air Force excellence around the world when they perform. But I like to tell people they're even better humans than they are musicians, if you can even imagine that. So simply having that dialogue, I think, from concert to concert. But some of the performances that stand out are some of the collaborations that we've done with the St. Louis Symphony when I was stationed at Scott Air Force Base with the band of Mid-America. And then just recently, I was at the White House 3 times this spring for the Easter egg roll and for a couple of other gigs. And it's just a fantastic, wide and varied way to use music as a universal phenomenon to connect with people.
The United States Air Force Concert Band and Singing Sergeants are heading out on tour, and we're coming to your town. For over 71 years, your United States Air Force Band has continued to honor, inspire, and impact our audiences the world over, and we can't wait to perform for you. For ticket and concert information, please visit our official website and click on the National Tours window. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our official smartphone app. Enjoy an exciting live performance with your United States Air Force Band.
There's a new piece of music in the repertoire on this tour. Tell us about the Fanfare for Democracy.
The Fanfare for Democracy was commissioned by the Marine Band actually for President Biden's inauguration. And there's actually a great longstanding tradition of fanfares being commissioned for presidential inaugurations. And so this is one of those. And this was written by one of our great American living composers, James Stevenson. And it's called Fanfare for Democracy. And we're hoping to share that with our audiences on this tour as well. It's a fantastic piece of music. So a nice short little opening to the concert.
What else is on the program?
We have lots of different things. So we always start with our favorite song, the national anthem. And we'll end with our Americana fare, which is America the Beautiful. And we love to salute our armed forces and the Stars and Stripes. But in the middle, we have everything from Leonard Bernstein. We've got some West Side Story, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Some Enchanted Evening from South Pacific, to some instrumental solos as well. We've got a piece called, it's an homage to Manuel de Falla, the Spanish composer, that was written by a composer named Kovacs. And this particular piece was written for clarinet solo by itself. But then an army arranger came and arranged it with a band solo underneath. So it's really quite unique, I think. And then we're doing the Habanero from Carmen. And then a couple of other just band pieces on their own and some pieces with our singing sergeants as well. It's a beautiful arrangement of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, arranged by John Rutter for band and choir that I think audiences will really enjoy.
From the 20th century to the 21st century, I would say wind ensemble music has had the most exponential growth in classical music in terms of just how many pieces have come available. And you've been immersed in that in the bands. What piece really sticks out to you as sort of a favorite performing experience?
Oh goodness, I can't.
Or 2 or 3, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can choose one, but I have lots of interest in wind music and actually all music in general. But I love chamber music. So anything from the Mozart serenades to actually that collaboration that I did with the St. Louis Symphony. There's let me remember the composer. He's leaving me now, but there was a partner piece written for chamber winds that is a partner to the Mozart Grand Partita. It was written in the 80s by a German composer, and we got to perform that, and that was actually a brilliant. It's wildly contemporary, But it was so much fun to see these two pieces juxtaposed. And I think that that's one of the things that is fun about our contemporary wind scene. Goodness, and in the contemporary band world, there's just too many I think to name one or two, but I like just about anything that's new music. So.
What about the sort of older, going back to the original military band music, the original concert band music of older classics?
I'm a huge fan of the whole suites, and let's see, the anything by Granger is one of my, he's absolutely one of my favorites, but yeah, I'd say Hults is probably one.
The U.S. Air Force Band performs in Owensboro, Kentucky at River Park Center on July 5th at 7 p.m. and July 6th at 7 p.m. at Louisville Male High School Auditorium.